The Chicago White Sox need another starter for the 2023 rotation, and Ethan Katz made that clear. Katz also weighed in on Reynaldo Lopez, Garrett Crochet, Michael Kopech, and of course, Dylan Cease. And could the White Sox say goodbye to Adam Engel? MLB teams will make more decisions on Friday as the non-tender deadline looms.
You are Locked On White Sox, your daily Chicago White Sox podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, Sox fans, welcome to Locked On White Sox. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen each and every day. We're free and available on all platforms. Follow us on Twitter at Locked On Sox. Also subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just search Locked On White Sox. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey, I'm your host, Nick Morawski, a lifelong diehard Chicago White Sox fan, recording this podcast just blocks from the ballpark in beautiful Bridgeport. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTV. Really appreciate you letting me steal some of your time to talk off-season White Sox. Locked On White Sox is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you think you have enough pitching, then it's time to go get some more. What role will Garrett Crochet have with the White Sox in 2023? And is Reynaldo Lopez the future closer? Also, MLB teams are bracing to make more roster decisions on Friday. So Friday, November 18th, the non-tender deadline. Friday, a major date on the MLB offseason calendar. It's the deadline to tender contracts, which is especially relevant to arbitration-eligible players. Major League Baseball's deadline for tendering contracts to unsigned players falls on November 18th this year, a couple weeks earlier than normal. Teams have to choose whether or not to extend contract offers to all players not already signed to guaranteed deals. That encompasses most players with fewer than 6 years of big league service time, though there are exceptions, such as players who agreed to long-term extensions earlier in their careers. The players who do not receive contract offers are described as being non-tendered, meaning they become free agents. Unlike a traditional free agent, those with the required amount of service time, these players seldom receive multi-year deals. Many of them find new homes on one-year agreements with their salary either aligning or coming in underneath their projected arbitration price. So White Sox arbitration-eligible players, we've got Giolito, Engel, Lopez, Cease, Ruiz, Kopech, and Danny Mendick. Of that group, Adam Engel could be a non-tender candidate. Adam Engel, he has been roaming the outfield, believe it or not, for the Chicago White Sox since 2017, Ricky Renteria's first year at the helm. Adam Engel has battled leg and lower body injuries for a majority of his time on the White Sox. 2018 was the high water mark for him when he played in 143 games. Perhaps his best year offensively was the 60-game season of 2020. Engel played in 36 games and slashed .295, .333, .477. His power numbers never really materialized. He never got to double digits with regards to home runs. He did hit 7 home runs in 39 games in 2021. Center field, I would say his natural position, but obviously he will not overtake Luis Robert. In 2022, Engel played 55 games in right field in 57 in center field, while, of course, Robert was dealing with some of his own injuries. Engel had hamstring issues once again this past season, but he stayed healthy for long stretches of time. And honestly, I thought he would have seen far more consistent playing time. He was used as a defensive replacement, but Gavin Sheets was favored over Engel in right field, and that, of course, was because of Gavin's lefty bat. Adam Engel battled injuries in 2021, but I thought he was starting to come around with the power, started swinging the bat a lot better, looked comfortable. And I really thought the Sox would prioritize him more, especially since he was, able to stay in the field. Engel only started 60 games for the White Sox in 2022. When Adam Engel was healthy and locked in, he was one of the best defenders. So many leaping grabs to rob a home run or extra bases. He was very fun to watch out there. The problem was his health, and who knows what will happen here, but I wouldn't be surprised if the White Sox non-tender Engel. Unfortunately, it will be tough for me not to think about his error down left field line in Baltimore this past season. Sorry to bring that up. If the White Sox keep Engel, Danny Mendick maybe could be a candidate to be non-tendered. White Sox have a lot of second base options. But it's my belief that the White Sox will go with an in-house option in 2023 rather than spend money or trade for a second baseman. It'll be interesting to see what other teams decide to do around the league. A healthy Michael Kopech and Garrett Crochet would be a sight for sore eyes come February. I'm going to tell you why the best laid plans often go awry. More on that in a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. We've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and the easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So White Sox pitching coach Ethan Katz spoke with the media on Thursday. He had a lot to say, especially if you read between the lines with regards to the starting staff and other noteworthy comments pertaining to the White Sox pitching staff. Ethan Katz said Michael Kopech's rehab from knee surgery is a bit more gradual than expected, but they still expect him to be ready for spring training and finish at 5 innings, 85 pitches before his first outing of the regular season. We are approaching the 6-year anniversary of the White Sox acquiring Michael Kopech from Boston. And I don't know about you, but I still have no idea what we really have in him. He's been a starter, a long reliever, back to a starter with a COVID year and several injuries in between. Since Kopech first appeared with the White Sox in 2018, he has pitched in 73 games. 73. White Sox have so many needs, and I put pitching right up there at the top of the list, especially with attention to the starting staff. No disrespect to Davis Martin, but I'd love for the Sox to get serious about a fifth starter. Ethan Katz weighed in on that, saying, quote, "Obviously, we need another starter," end quote. I really appreciate how direct he was with that comment. No Hans speak or carefully crafted answers. We need another starter. It's refreshing, and Ethan Katz is 100% correct. Katz doesn't believe starting is in the cards for Garrett Crochet next year, but he could be a multi-inning reliever. Katz, from his perspective on Crochet, quote, "I don't know if starting is realistic," end quote. Katz notes that he'd hit innings limit very early if they went that route. Crochet currently throwing from 120 feet. Katz said he hopes Crochet will be able to serve as a long reliever at some point in 2023, but the Southpaw will still needs additional time to recover after undergoing Tommy John surgery in April, and it's not yet clear how much work he'll be able to take on once spring training begins. Garrett Crochet was drafted by the White Sox in the first round with the 11th pick in 2020. We saw him almost immediately that season. He pitched in 5 games and also pitched in the 2020 postseason. He left that game 3 in Oakland with an injury. He appeared in 54 games in 2021, all in relief. And of course, we did not see him at all in 2022. Like Kopech, I don't think we really have any true idea what, Garrett Crochet could be. And sadly, I don't know when we will find out. I know he wants to be a starter, but that is not, how the White Sox, that's not the path that we've gone on. And now with these injuries, I don't know what the future holds, unfortunately, for Garrett Crochet, but we did miss him. Boy, did we miss him out of the bullpen this past season. Speaking of bullpen, Reynaldo Lopez has had a resurgence with the White Sox recently. I'm going to tell you why he could take on a new role in 2023. More on that in a moment. Today's episode is brought to you by SimpliSafe. If you've thought about securing your home with home security but have been putting it off, you'll want to listen up. Right now, Locked On White Sox listeners can order the #1 rated SimpliSafe home security system for 50% off. This is their biggest offer of the year, and you don't want to miss it. Did you know that over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spiked nationally? That's why our friends at SimpliSafe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your SimpliSafe system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. In an emergency, 24/7 professional monitoring agents use Fast Protect technology exclusively from SimpliSafe to capture critical evidence and verify the threat is real, so you can get priority police response. SimpliSafe is whole home security with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door, HD security cameras for inside and out, smarter ways to detect motion that alert you only when a threat is real, and even hazard sensors that detect fires, floods, and other threats to your home. 24/7 professional monitoring service costs less than $1 a day, less than half the price of ADT's traditional professionally installed system. With the top-rated SimpliSafe app, stay in complete control of your system anytime, anywhere, arm or disarm, unlock for a guest, access your cameras, or adjust system settings. Get 50% off any new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/LockedOnMLB. Today, this is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/LockedOnMLB. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. White Sox pitching coach Ethan Katz said Reynaldo Lopez wants to be a closer one day. Quote, he really loves the role he's in, being a lockdown guy in the bullpen. He really thrived at that. I think he really enjoys that, end quote. Interesting comments there from Ethan Katz. There's a lot of discussion in White Sox Nation about Liam Hendriks possibly being traded. It frees up a ton of money. Then that money can be used to address all the other needs that the White Sox have. The free agency market for closers is pretty thin, and teams may get desperate if the White Sox are more likely to improve via the trade. Then Liam Hendriks might be a candidate. I guess if Hendriks is traded, then maybe Lopez can be looked at as a closer, while Crochet then slides into long relief. Again, not at all what we were hoping for in 2023, but the White Sox are obviously opting for creativity and cheapness instead of spending actual money to improve the team. Katz said the White Sox have had conversations about bringing Johnny Cueto back. Free agency has to take its course. Says no one has a better work ethic in baseball than Johnny Cueto. If I'm not mistaken, Johnny Cueto said he would love to be back with the White Sox, of course, if there is a right deal to be had. Dylan Cease, he thanked pitching coach Ethan Katz during his interview portion of the Cy Young Award show on Wednesday. Katz, of course, is one of the few coaches that will be staying on as part of Pedro Grifol's staff. This is what Katz had to say on Cease. Quote, coming in second and not being an all-star, I think says a lot about the season he had and how he finished. That wasn't a distraction to him. It did bother him when he didn't get announced being an all-star. Getting this is, I think, a little bit more rewarding, end quote. And then Katz, just general statement on where pitchers are at right now for the White Sox. He said, we just gave them their player plans, so they have a lot of information that they are digesting, and they are just starting to ramp up already. When you think you have enough pitching, go out and get some more. A few years ago in December of 2019, Sox were aggressive and tried to land Zach Wheeler. They offered him serious money, but he ultimately chose, or maybe his significant other chose for him to stay on the East Coast. Then the White Sox resorted to plan B and signed former Cy Young winner Dallas Keuchel in late December of 2019. He had a solid 2020, but that was about it. Hopefully, the White Sox make pitching a priority. Folks, thank you so very much for making this podcast part of your daily routine. You can find the Locked On White Sox podcast absolutely everywhere you find your podcasts. We are on Twitter at Locked On Sox. You can find me on Twitter at Nick_GGTB. Thank you for making Locked On White Sox your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast, the biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Coming up on the next episode, I'll continue to examine offseason White Sox scenarios as the Sox go full steam ahead with the Pedro Grifol era. Really appreciate you making time for the Locked On White Sox podcast. I'm Nick Morawski. Until next time, go Sox.